Hey guys, Parler here, and you're back with us for more of the GLL Apex Legends series. I'm still joined on the desk by Glitter Explosion and, of course, Onset on my very left of the desk. Our fourth match of the day is pretty much ready to go, so we'll just get some quick thoughts about everything seen so far from our analysts. Starting with you, Glitter.
So we've seen some really hectic gameplay to kick off the night, which was super fun to watch. We've seen a lot of consistency coming out of some of these teams to keep them in the top 5, and we were just talking about it a little bit. We've seen zones that aren't really touching the southwest portion of the map, so maybe we can see some variety moving forward.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I want to see some more southern circles coming in. I'm sure some of the teams that are dropping that side of the map as well are hoping for that as well. So keep an eye out for where these circles are ending, because obviously we're expecting to see those circles kind of be, you know, moved across the map and give different opportunities for teams to rotate early. It's also very interesting to see if there's any teams, I'm going to have a look at the leaderboard in a minute as we get into our next game, of who are actually dropping to the western side of the map, who are still placing well, because when they do get that circle pulling towards them, a real opportunity to get points on the board and move up the table.
So far, we've seen Papega Squadron, Virtus Pro and Kick take away a champion's banner. Who will take away number 4? Let's find out and head over to Dreadnought and Bravo.
Hey, thanks so much, Paula and Glitter and Onset as well. Dread, excited to see exactly how this next one is going to go. We've seen some interesting things so far within the top 5. We have 2 very surprising comps. And now with just a few matches left for Europe's Day 1, I think right now we're going to kind of see, are we going to continue to see this? Are we going to continue to see LG getting a free double drop?
Yeah.
Are we going to see comp changes for for Alliance or Virtus Pro? Looks like right now, probably not. Lots of questions still to be answered.
Yeah, and the one team that really definitely stands out that we heard from the analyst desk for me, now thinking about it, is reciprocity. Like the fact that they are even a part of the conversation when I can't even, when I think back of the games that we've experienced, right? What's a reciprocity moment? I've got none that come to my mind, right? You can think of a couple of rotations from VP, a couple of shots maybe coming through, or a play from Papega, but the fact that, and that's not a slight to them, if I'm trying to compliment the fact that they're able to hold their own and their numbers are comparative, but they haven't been at the forefront. All it's going to take, I feel like, is one momentum moment for them, and they may be a real contender towards that top half.
Certainly, especially if they keep their kills high, because you and I were just taking a look, and you pointed out that they are towards the top of the kill table, and I think if they can continue that, they're going to be sitting in a good position to be in the money tomorrow.
Which I find kind of, you know, almost poetic to some extent, right? When we think about reciprocity in NA of the past and like their performances, right? No matter what version of the roster, it seems like kills were always something when we talk about reciprocity as a name at Apex, that's the focus, right? And the fact that even in EU here with this team, and I believe they're first, you know, standing under this title, I just think it's, you know, a little bit of, isn't that neat?
It is. They can slay out on the reciprocity side, whether we're talking about the European rosters or the North American rosters. But here we are now jumping into game number 4, kicking things off here with the Kick side, taking a look exactly where they are. 3rd place right now in the table with 31 points to their name, but it is a very, very close top 4. Virtus Pro with 35, Papega Squadron 32, Kick on your screen there with 31, and then Reciprocity with 30. We're also now checking a look here at Lazarus for the first time with their drop, and we're going to see a thermal drop for them.
When you drop thermal, there's a lot of really great loot around. I feel like for me, a biggest question is what decisions you make after that point. I believe we got ourselves, I thought I saw a glimpse of red there for a key opportunity, but don't think we actually got one off the ground there. Yeah, so not going to be a key there. Actually, to be honest, the fact that that was a gold drop, not having too much to really write home about when walking away with it.
Definitely sending a complaint about that one.
Yeah, no, that's one of those, oh, yo, go get that stock. Look, that 99 into that purple stock, the dream.
It is indeed. That's a long-distance shot there from Xania on that cargo bot, but it's going to probably be picked up once again, like we said, by the splits of the teammates. Interesting to see there Lazarus at Thermal, because I believe it's the first time we've even seen Thermal period on the screen.
Yeah, no, I agree, actually. And, you know, to be honest, like outside of the one Lava City drop coming out, I think it was VP of last game, we really haven't even seen the southern half of the map. Lava Fisher, Dome.
We saw Dome for maybe 7 seconds.
Sorting Factory is as far south as we've gone, and that's about, that's the equator, you know? It's not too risky there.
That's it. We have just really seen looting at, like you said, Dome, City, and now... yeah, that's it. And now at Thermal, but like we said, teams are forced up as we take a look here. Though with that ring, as we did just see Lava City within it, we could see some things headed south this game. You heard Onset ask for it on the desk. His wish might be coming true. Also taking a look once again at the side of Wizen, as they are now over at Geyser. Also the first time we're really seeing any Geyser action as well. So still If you're just joining us, or whether you've been joining us for the whole night, lots of more corners of World's Edge that we're going to see explored throughout the evening as well as into tomorrow.
Yep, vault opportunity here coming out through for Shiv and friends, as well as we glance over now here for Soar. Trying to figure out where they are on the map here. First glance with that stretch, it's actually, oh, there we go. We're sitting at Skyhook, just coming out of that train station. One of the more interesting buildings of Skyhook, actually, and there's multiple of it. It's only in the major city buildings. Do you have this weird skyscraper with the choke in between with the square box down below? Some of the more hectic fights, definitely quite a bit of loot throughout there. I only feel like it's relevant to talk about because, at least in my personal experience, for some reason, somebody is always up in those things whenever I'm playing.
And we did see just now, we did get beacon intel that we are pulling heavy geyser, and we could see something, typically pre-December 3rd. Once again, we were used to seeing those geyser end circles pull all the way towards the back, right around those buildings, right around those pills. I'd say since the most recent update to end circles, as you can see, if you've been watching scrims at all, you know that everything is a bit out the window in terms of pros understanding exactly where those are going to pull, and they're playing as such. But right now, things are looking like it will be around geyser based on the intel we have from that beacon.
Yeah, I wonder if any team is going to make the decision to maybe zone out from the geyser vault with that in mind, right? Because with the geyser being the hinted final circle, no matter what part of geyser it is, you've got a long while where you might be able to gatekeep out from that, find yourself a vault key opportunity, maybe kind of further that advantage and snowball the game out of control.
Yeah, and we've actually seen MVP do that quite a bit. They're quick to, in the event of something that looks like it is pulling geyser, they will just Watson up at Geyser Vault, just like you said, and it's a great way to hold that down. Teams are likely not going to push you in the off case that it pushes Capital City outskirts, right? You've got that front door as well.
Yeah, you've got a rotation.
To go north. Yeah, it's pretty great. So expect a team to get there pretty early. Now, we talked about this team during the break. It's Reciprocity EU, as they're going to also make their big, long trip right now. They're still pretty far north. They're going to have to come all the way down here from Skyhook East, either through Capital City or Epicenter, all the way over to Geyser.
Yeah, and just to give you an idea of, why the reciprocity is so kind of impressive and why we're talking about that, when looking at our top 4 teams here so far, basically they have like a 33% increase in kills compared to everybody else. There's just a cliff kind of drop off there past that point, and reciprocity is the gatekeeper of that cliff.
Oh, Mady actually was right there, a portal to loot, and was getting clipped at Geyser. We have to assume, as you saw nothing in the kill feed, that he did get away with it, but barely does so. Now looking at Reciprocity EU, and they have chosen Capital City to make the rotation directly through.
Probably not going to be that concerning because they are on the northern end of Capital City. There's not as much traction there, and they're trying to make this rotation early, understandably so, considering how much ground they did have to cover. And a team a little bit more comfortable here is going to be Cooler, sitting inside the actual geyser itself. Now on the high ground on the outskirts, just to the northern section here, another team.
Along with, these are kind of we saw a little bit of the preferred areas there. This southern side of Geyser, the high ground, definitely a place that you can make something happen. Wraith is forced to queue. Now that's actually Lazarus who's pushing there, and maybe going to make a push in. They're going to have to wait for each other, and also few cells going to need to come out, but he's got 12 of them, does Kashera. So not too bad. Also shots coming in from that north as well, as things are going to get Geyser, one of the probably, as we talk about end circles, all of the playable Geyser area. There's not a lot of room for teams, and with all these interconnected buildings, and also not a lot of room for that many teams within these buildings. Even though there's a number of individual, what appears from the overhead map, a lot of indoor spaces, keep in mind these all have hallways through them. So you have very, very few actual spaces that teams can set up that early.
Yeah, and I would also raise with the structure and the layout of Geyser as well, and because it's clearly a talking point that has been coming to light at bits and pieces throughout today, is if there's any caustic, that's one of the better circles and situations to be able to find you because the building's being so very relevant.
And here comes Luminosity Gaming pushing through the exact Geyser Vault choke that we expected to see someone Watson up in, and no surprise, a team is holding that. If there's one team that can push it, it's going to be Luminosity. We'll keep an eye on that as well to see exactly what happens through that vault.
And hot drop here. This is the not looking so hot in Geyser positioning. This is a common situation that you'll find yourself in due to the high ground threat that you saw them looking in that canal to the north, mixed with all the pressure that clearly every team is going to have here at the Geyser in and of itself. I think it's unlikely that they'll be able to make it out of the situation, but Lazarus here trying to push and force something, not able to get the break on that armor.
Decent baiting and switching though, as Kashera's going to be able to pop the bat, maybe get right back into the fray. Two teammates still having just about full purple, but
they have like two different teams even just to the right-hand side towards that high ground right there. They're moving that portal all the way through all of them, and now Cooler, it seems like actually they maybe found the upper hand over that skirmish enough to make that portal not that optimal here for the other side. Lazarus, maybe a bit of the back foot here over this Geyser battle.
Yep, Cooler going to go ahead and have an opportunity to heal up once again. And now once again, here's Lazarus on that southern high ground, now pushing lower as well. But shots from just about every angle. Like you said, they're now forced even lower down into bottom, the lowest elevation of Geyser.
Gibraltar ultimate goes down. I believe that was post kills, so he's not going to get hit by it. I say that, but he actually, I think, took damage from it. Nope, that was a shot that came through. So post kill's going to be fine, sitting in the fray out there, at least for now. Trying to crawl his way too. He's going to hide on the backside of those rocks. We know those targets sitting again to the high ground on the left-hand side, but then also in those houses. Now here, Reciprocity making their way through that northern choke from Capital City.
Yeah, and they're way over here, playing much more of an edge. And this is a pretty common spot. If you've been watching scrims, you've seen many teams set up in this area. Really nice high ground along the cliffs. You can Watson up for both sides. And keep in mind that not only these Watson defenses don't really serve as actual defensive chokes that you expect someone to hit. This is more an indicator for anyone who thinks they're going to come flying up into this high ground that you're going to go against people who have a very clear high ground advantage, at least if you're pushing from the south. We've seen a number of teams set up here. I'm not surprised to see a team set up on this choke, which is pretty comfy, it's pretty cozy.
Yeah, it is so unapproachable. You're right there with that high ground in that situation with those fences, though they aren't as effective as in the house. It is rather intimidating.
You're going up against players who are just going to have high ground and be able to peek from every angle, baiting and switching the whole time.
And it's not like you can get rid of those traps without getting any elevation yourself, right? Because when a Watson sets a trap while you have the low ground, if there's any edge, you aren't going to be able to shoot that base, and only way to be able to rid of it there. But shooting at somebody's base here is Cooler.
See, that portal actually brings them all the way over. So right now, holding down both of these buildings momentarily. It'll be a tall order to be able to do so well into the mid-game. But for now, Watsoning up on both buildings with that portal.
So this is actually, at this point in the game with Geyser, if you're that confident this is going to be a final circle, I actually think it's super valuable to basically maintaining your doors if possible and making sure you break the opponent's doors as fast as possible too, because it removes a lot of those options in decision-making here as we see Cooler kind of back and forth transitioning.
Now, they shoot.
They're doorless.
But also in their other building, there were less Watson defenses than when they got back. So I'm not sure if those are shot up by anyone.
That's a really good horror film, you know.
It is.
You go through one raid portal, you come back, and all your fences are gone.
Wait, guys, we had Watson fences, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Someone said, what? Oh gosh, I can see it now. That's not, that's, speaking of Apex Nightmares, that falls within the list without a doubt. Now taking a look once again here on the side of Wizen. Doing pretty well so far. They found themselves in 8th place, one of the qualified teams that's come through, one of the few qualified teams that has broken into that top 8.
Still got a lot to deal with here, though, with Geyser, just because, I mean, I think we've laid it out pretty clearly on some of the ways to be able to make your way in, and for anybody who has any experience of, being able to imagine where you think these teams are around the Geyser, it's very clear. They're I mean, it feels like just a burp away from one another, It'd be pretty easy to be able to just toss something over to the other side and get some threat, as we see one opportunity here is a Watson sitting inside there.
Now, something that's interesting is teams, once again, we talked about the Europe early rotations. Generally, with the Geyser end circle, even in scrims, you will see a team hold some level of rooftops in the early game.
Yeah.
To look for picks coming in through the chokes. It felt like there was no time wasted. Everyone got inside, Watsoned up. Let's not even risk getting kind of caught off guard. Generally, we'll see early rooftop play at a place like Geyser. We didn't even see it because teams are so focused on getting those setups, getting in early.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out because, okay, so once the mid-level gets taken, then the high ground's the next choice. And then for everybody who fails to get the high ground, then the low ground's a choice. And you might be going, well, there is no low ground because there's no basement. You're right, but every one of those buildings is approachable from the south. Now, every part of it is enterable, but a lot of them do have open territory to hide.
Right.
And it creates this weird, almost, second level of immigration to the Geyser section.
Yep.
And really kind of changes the power levels of these teams.
Especially from the northern choke that you highlighted earlier.
Yeah.
That is the most common. You slide in right to those buildings. And it feels like you're safe for a moment until you realize that you actually have really no viable angle to attack anything.
Yeah, and you're just hoping that somehow everybody else gets so lost in the fray of battle here. Soar and friends, though, from a very different angle. I think they're the only ones approaching kind of from this transition into the Geyser itself. I don't know if I mean that as a compliment or a fear, but we'll see if that creativity and uniqueness is going to be something that is a gift or a curse here. Nice shot comes through.
And VP, once again, still Lava City North here, which is interesting to see. We know that they are typically a Lava City drop team based on their scrims that we've seen so far, so they have not left just yet, but going to use this zip here that came from PJ into the choke and taking all sorts of damage.
Yeah.
And it looks like there's more friends over at Lava City, and also, of course, unsurprisingly, in Geyser South. So things are heating up here as Nos will drop and also get thirsted.
Yeah, really interesting to see how long it took them to get there. That's a great point you bring up, considering the drop, and they are not out of it yet here. Taylor just getting around at that corner, going to go ahead and drop down. We know there are targets down here, though.
Certainly very surprising. Yeah. Very surprising. I was going to say, very surprising that they find this southern high ground open, and they actually find Samsung there. I'm going to go ahead and try to go for that swap. Does get it, gets the swap, and also going to put some healing time in as well.
And you heard a moment of concern for me, right? I actually thought he was going to go for the gold. And for anybody wondering why that's probably not a good idea, is if a target just came from that area, they likely had already looted it for whatever gold, and it's probably not going to be beneficial for you if you're looking to get anything. Armor was probably swapped too, so smart to go for the recently killed target, go for the swap, and then consider everything later.
Right.
It's those kind of small things that really separate them from us plebeians here on the other side, but Cooler still holding up in what is their territory here of Geyser.
Yep, this is the second area we saw them.
There's a really big problem there looking at Cooler. Actually, only 50 bullets in that scout. And when you're looking at the double tap, it consumes bullets.
Yes.
So that may be a problem looking forward.
And look at Luminosity Gaming as well, way on the outskirts. We've seen several battles. The furthest, what we thought were the furthest outskirts outside Geyser was the Lava City battle, but it looks like actually Luminosity finding themselves quite a bit to the north. Of course, still within the circle here, but they're now being forced finally into that Geyser choke that we mentioned earlier.
Man, and everybody's making their way through here. One team ended up moving up, getting a double knock. Luminosity now trying to fight their way with the low ground. They get a pretty good trade there to the target on the left-hand side. The Thermite getting the ticks here onto the one. That is an easy flick through. Mimu's out of here. G2 spray from the hip there on the Devotion.
Look at that.
And that is it. Sasanya and friends here cleaning up here, dominating on the backside of this Geyser, but they still have to make it into the Geyser.
Yep. How often do we see them? They're so confident in those pushes when they do have disadvantages like that, having to be being forced uphill into those chokes. They pull it off again. 12 squads left here. Once again, taking a look at Reciprocity EU there right now, sitting in 4th place today.
Let's see what they end up trying to do here as we're watching a death cam here of Soar.
I want to give also want to give a shout out to Overpower, the only American player in the European bracket, actually representing the USA, playing here now with IPN from Norway and RPR from Croatia.
Be careful, because you guys are going to move with a lot of teams. I think you guys should
hear a little bit of team comps here. We'll listen in for a moment.
And then maybe hit Geyser or just walk in. I don't know. Walking in is going to be really hard.
You should take Geyser OP and then you just insta-dome. What do you think?
Yeah, we're gonna have to take that.
But where, what now?
Wait, I'm trapping this. Yeah.
Geyser into Instant Dome for Soar. Reciprocity still worried about this building in this battle. Understandable. And you talked earlier when talking about the Geyser circle, the predictable circle, the ones that we know. It is the one that we know. It's in the very, very back depth. So this is a moment where everybody is very, I don't want to say comfortable, because if you didn't get the position, you're going to be in a bad spot. But everybody's been there, done that when it comes to this ending.
And this is one of the zones now. There's a number of them, as you can imagine, as there also was on Kings Canyon. But this is one of these specific circles where you will see people having to Wraith portals simply to get to that back corner, because there is such a low amount of playable space.
Yeah, it's very, very challenging. As you can already see, almost half of the actual existing circle is already consumed by that back rock. But here we are with LG after the victory over their last skirmish. They've now made their way into the vault section itself.
Right, which is interesting, because keep in mind, we checked in with LG maybe 3-4 minutes ago. They were thinking about this push. Yes. They actually went all the way outside to go to Underpass.
Yeah, they
win a battle at Underpass, and they're like, okay, actually, let's now go back to the vault. We've armored up, right? Kasanya gets a gold out of that, and now they go do it again. So they're playing really patient on the outside northern part of the circle.
And that's one of those moments I love to hear their thought process. If that's a way to be able to sandwich a team into a lose-lose scenario and then make the rotation they actually want, or if that was a real thought process that they were willing to maybe go through with if they needed to do so here.
That's going to be Brotatoes getting down there, as you see, and also more teams falling. Going to be a bleed out there, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, indeed, for Bodoli now, as we take a look. 8 squads left in this game, and now
that's a rough trade.
The side of LG there in a tough spot. Fast bat, though, for Sanaya. We'll see if he pushes out. Good shots there with the Devo. Also takes out the Gen.
That's a huge victory to get rid of that Gen. We see the damage kind of be worn there for a second coming out from Xens on that shield.
He has a Phoenix as well. I'm not sure if he has another bat. Going to force to spend this Phoenix. It will be a fast Phoenix, of course, and now getting ready to push with the team. Full shields once again. They did that quick, and they did it well.
But they don't have a portal to be able to make a play for at least 20 seconds here. So what are they going to do in the downtime? Bubble comes back up in about 15 seconds. Expect the push with that bubble because I don't think they can wait on that portal. They maybe sense a moment here with blood in the water as they end up moving forward through. That's going to be the devotion spray coming out from Tisanya. One more shot there with the Peacekeeper. That's an easy cleanup.
Not just a spray, probably a little bit of prey as well. So far, it's working out for them, though, as they do get that first knock. Another fast bat from Tisanya. That gold armor really coming in handy here.
Yeah, the double bat already dropping, healing up there for 200 HP. Going to move forward on that final target. Swaps around the truck. Ends up getting the knock through and the cleanup there, and that is another team down at the hands of Luminosity Gaming.
Ferrari beats the Italian side. They will fall. They tried to hold that Geyser Vault against Luminosity. Luminosity, they took their time, and they made it count.
But they cannot take any more time. They have to make their way out that main door and deal with Kick here, and they are not the only ones. 6 squads remain over this round 5, and it is closing in quick.
And like we said, this is the 2 areas we highlighted at the beginning of the game. Watch the back pills. That's where Kick is right now. Also watch the back buildings. Not only is this high ground, but lots and lots of cover. Generally, you wouldn't think of these supply crates as the best cover, but with the high ground, with the crates nearby, this is actually a spot you'll see teams fight from pretty often and be very comfortable doing so.
But there's one silver lining for Luminosity. We did see that their Wraith Portal should come up right about now, and this is the time they need it. Expect it to come from this angle if it does do so, as Nighty's already kind of looking to zone that off, as we see
it's going to be
Wizen here struggling to deal with this skirmish. LG.
We see more kills from LG still.
They've snuck their way in. No.
And you saw Kick's ready for this. Kick was watching this push, and there's I believe they're trying to go ahead and throw down.
Gibraltar down. Bubble, along with the Watson generator, is going to be a quick deny on
just 3 spots here.
Oh my goodness. Will LG be able to do that, considering that they trek so far across the planet to be able to make it happen? Devotion still in the hands here of Tisanya, which has actually been a primary weapon for him all day long so far.
Look at that. It's such a tough angle for him to fight against those supply crates. They're going to have to be very careful in how they choose these shots and exactly where they want to go. Same thing for Kick right now as we have a 1v1v1.
But look at the ammo. Havoc sitting very, very low there. 64 in total, and that's going to be the bubble. Matrix is very weak, and where you see the push here, Luminosity does not want to waste any more time. Matrix ends up going down, but Exens is going to go down as well. A 1-for-1 here so far. But look at Knights. 1 shot, 1 kill. Luminosity take that kill.
Look at that. And once again, Tanaya is getting pushed. He might be able to fight this. No, he will go down as well. And that will be it as Luminosity will fall and Kick will fall.
Luminosity Gaming not having enough there to be able to pull that out. And the team who ends up winning, it wasn't actually Kick who ends up controlling that. It's Alliance from the house who ended up winning that.
Like we said, that's the spot you want to hold there.
But that being said, you know, I'm trying to remember where we saw Alliance anywhere in the mid game if we did get a glance at them. And I feel like, if anything, it was like you remember when we saw the skirmish on that kind of high ground subsection coming out from there?
Right.
I feel like were they one of the teams to be able to win that battle?
Which high ground?
Just like that a side ledge where all those like plants and that yellow
South Geyser.
Yeah, sitting on the side.
I think we saw them for a bit there. I don't know how they scooted into that back building, but of course that's the place you want to be. What I think they had to get there sooner rather than later, specifically because generally you wouldn't see so many teams in the mid Geyser buildings, in the west Geyser buildings, if they could have gotten further to the east, because that's where teams do want to set up. In the end, though, you know, it's once again quite a story for those last few squads. Alliance is able to squeak it out. Keep in mind, Alliance is a qualified team, right? Not an invited team. They were in 5th before this, and their points on the leaderboard are going to be looking really good after that match as well. But also, got to give a shout out to the side of Kick as well as Luminosity Gaming. I feels like the artist formerly known as 789. The way we continue to see them push through disadvantageous positions and come out with really great calling, really great timing. And, I mean, just look at Woods and I have been able to do what he did without going to underpass, getting the gold, and then trying again?
Yeah.
Probably not.
No, they are definitely, I would say, probably one of the more well-controlled in units of a team. Like, they seem to work very, very well together. But I want to figure out here and bring in our analysts if they have any idea on how Alliance did find such an amazing positioning there, guys. Did you manage to catch that rotation?
I don't think that we did. Honestly, I think we were so focused on watching LG push their way through team after team on the edge of the circle to really secure their spot in the end zone.
Yeah, I think it was one of those occasions where it was kind of you know, the contrast of someone rotating early towards the end zone and a team playing the edge of the circle. And it was very interesting to see the two go up against each other. We thought LG were going to take it at one point, the way that they rotated in and sort of positioned themselves for that end circle. The only problem is they engaged first out of the last 3 teams, and that made Alliance's job a little bit easier to just push out. They basically just out-survived the battle starting and then were able to clean up once the damage was done.
Yeah, and for them to push uphill, though, the way they did, to push up against the northeast furthest corner, for them to push in against Kick, that angle, you actually saw from Zanaya when he had the Devo out, he didn't even have an angle to shoot any of that, right? He was just looking straight up a hill. The fact that Zanaya and the rest of the team can push in and somehow still squeak out of second place, it's another great performance for them, so I'm expecting to see some more consistency, guys.
Thank you, Bravo and Dreadnought. So Alliance there getting the win, but guys, it was LG that you had zoned in upon, and you were very impressed with the aggressive play that landed them a spot in those final moments. Can you talk a bit more about that?
Well, I think we were trying to keep track of how many teams they had to push through, and was it 3 full teams that they had to get through there at the end? They just had to take fight after fight and earned their spot in that final zone. It was just impressive.
It was the timing of their push. It was really impressed us, because we were looking at the first choke point on the way towards Geyser, and it was difficult because they had a team in front of them, they had 2 teams fighting in front of them, and they basically timed it. They saw a Gibby bubble go up, and immediately, if you've played enough Apex, you realize that if a bubble goes up and 2 teams are fighting, that usually means that bombardment's going to be coming in. So like, one team is trying to protect themselves from their own bombardment and keep themselves alive. They picked the perfect moment to creep up on that team when they were weak, finish them off, and then surprise the other team as well. So they won that first battle. Then we went back to them as they were moving through the underpass, past the vault, towards the Geyser. And that was where we saw a little bit of a different side of LG, and we saw the baiting of switching, that we were like, wow, this is awesome. Their communication has to be absolutely incredible in this point. It was the Gibby always going in first, being able to take that little bit more damage. He would back out, and it was just the coordination. It made that fight look so simple in underpass, and every fight that they won, they had to win to even have an opportunity to get towards that end circle. Looking on that game now for LG, you could see towards the end game what they were trying to do as well. They got themselves into that position. They got outside of the vault. They got towards that end circle. They needed to get a pick on one of those Alliance players in order to put themselves in a position to win that game. I think they realized that if they didn't do that, they were going to have to 1v1 with Kick and maybe look for armor swaps immediately, but Alliance didn't give them that time. They were looking for that pick, but they just couldn't get it. And you have to give credit to Alliance there for not giving their lives away.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I do want to point out was that Alliance is the top qualified team coming from that side of the bracket. Not only did they have a very strong showing, but they were actually over 100 points higher than the last place qualifying team. So clearly, you know, they were prepared coming into this event, and then they finally were able to kind of put on a show for us.
Communication always key in team games, and here we've seen fantastic use of the appropriate legends at the right times. Let's look at our scoreboard from match number 4. Alliance.
They would have got first, but it's points for kills.
It was the points, yeah. Don't worry.
Okay, there we go. I was slightly confused for a second there. Alliance got second place, regardless of finishing in first, getting the whole 12 points. It was LG that did get the overall most amount of points in that first place finish due to the kills. They got 9 of them, to be exact, and Kick finishing in third.
Top 10 for potatoes. Sorry to cut you off. I'm just going to give my boys some love. You know, I'm just saying, they're working their way up the table.
Squeaked into the top 10, 2 placement points, 1 kill on set. I mean, not exactly on fire, but they're working their way.
Fire, yeah. 2 days we've got here.
It's a slow burn.
Exactly. They're going to erupt tomorrow. It's going to be fine.
By the end of today or tomorrow, they could be a baked potato. Either way, we have the leaderboard up now for EMEA, and Kick have moved into first place with 45 points total. LG and Alliance now in second and third, which means Virtus Pro and Papega are no longer in those first and second positions. They've moved down to fourth and fifth.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that we were asking for was maybe a slightly more Western circle. We got that with the Geyser finish, but the one issue that we had was, surprisingly for us, we saw VP be taken down pretty early. And for me, the rotation out of Lava City towards Geyser is a pretty comfortable one to make. And there's a few decisions I saw them make, again, which they were trying to utilize that zip to get ahead of a choke point, and they got taken down, and they found a player down and having to fight 2v3 pretty much for the rest of the game. And again, it's the composition is so fascinating to watch, because we're thinking, you know, how are they going to move across the map? They don't have a Wraith. They're going to have to do this. And it's always brute force. And that time it just didn't work for them. But surprised to see they didn't make it to Enzo.
Yep, 4 games in. As you can see, things are still very tight. It could be anybody's game at this point. We're early on in the competition. We have 2 more matches to go today for the EMEA region here at the GLL Apex Legends series. And so do not go anywhere. We'll be back after this break.